Good evening, football fans. My name is Patrick Sills, and welcome to the Week 3 edition of the NFL Wrap-Up, man. It is Wednesday night. I did have some comedy shows I had to do Monday and Tuesday, so forgive me for being late. But nevertheless, let's get right into it, man. The Falcons, of course, beat the Seattle Seahawks, but I don't want to talk or brag about that, even though I really want to. But if you want to hear my analysis about the Falcons and how I reacted, go watch the video of me, because I did act crazy. So look, the Steelers took on the Browns Thursday night last week, and the Browns won 29-17 with former Georgia Bulldog Nick Chubb had 23 carries for 113 yards. He was averaging 4.9 yards a carry. He had one touchdown, and Amari Cooper also had 7 receptions. He had 101 yards receiving, and he had a touchdown. Now, of course, the Browns are the team the Falcons will have to play this coming Sunday, and so if you want to see my reaction on how I'm going to act to this team, man, just go watch that prediction video. So, of course, the Texans took on the Bears, where the Bears won 23-20, where Justin Fields acknowledged that he had a terrible game. Khalil Herbert had 20 attempts. He had 157 yards rushing for 7.9 yards average, and he had 2 touchdowns, man. Justin Fields recognized he had a terrible game. This is one of the lowest passer ratings that a quarterback had in winning the game, man. And he acknowledged that this is a terrible game. So let's see how he reacts coming next week. And of course, I did want Justin Fields to get drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, but I'm kind of glad that he didn't, with a lot of Falcons fans. So the Raiders took on the Titans, where the Raiders lost again, where the Titans won. They got their first win of the season, 24-22. The Chiefs took on the Colts, where the Chiefs lost, and the Colts won 20-17. Matt Ryan had 27 completions for 37 attempts. He had 22 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 5 times. Even still, Colts won this game, but Matt Ryan still took a beating, man. He is an old fellow, and ooh, man, I'm so glad he's not on this Falcons team anymore. So the Bills took on the Dolphins, where the Bills lost their first game of the season. The Dolphins won 21-19, where Jalen Waddle had 4 receptions for 102 yards receiving. And this game, coming out of it, was a big talking point because Tua took a big hit, and it looked like to see that he had a concussion, and he left the game, and he went to concussion protocol, and he quickly returned. Now, the NFLPA is doing an investigation on how quickly Tua came back in after the concussion went to protocol, because on the field, it looked like Tua was definitely concussed. And so we're going to see how everything plays out. Now, of course, the Bills lost their first game, and offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey was not too happy about that. He's seen slamming his headset and tablet like a little man-child, like a little man boy. This is something that all the women are going to, of course, point at and say that men just can't act right. So please, fellas, if your favorite football team loses, don't act like this guy. Just put your head through a wall like a normal man does. Yes. So the Lions took on the Vikings, where the Vikings won 28-24. Kirk Cousins had 24 completions for 41 attempts. He had 260 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and he was sacked 1 time. Kirk Cousins, again, coming off that awful loss against the Eagles, man. And I still am for the Vikings getting rid of Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins does not win games in prime time. The Ravens took on the Patriots, where my offensive player of the week came in 37-26. Off Lamar Jackson balled out this game. He had 18 completions for 29 attempts, 218 yards passing. He had 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. And of course, he also rushed the ball, where he had 11 carries, 107 yards rushing. He was averaging 9.7 yards a carry and 1 touchdown. Of course, he had one of the biggest fantasy football games of the year so far. And of course, he did this against the lonely Patriots. He did this on Bill Belichick's defense. Now, of course, we have to remember that Mac Jones had initial injury belief, had to be a high ankle sprain. He exited the game because he had an ankle injury. Now, it's believed to have a high ankle sprain. We'll see how this plays out for the duration of the season, man. So, yes, Lamar Jackson is my offensive player of the week. He went off, man. He torched them. He had 4 touchdowns. He rushed for 100 yards, and he had a touchdown rushing the ball. So, yes, congratulations, Lamar Jackson, on being my offensive player of the week. The Bengals got their first win of the season when they played the Jets, and they won 27-12, where Joe Burrow had 23 completions for 36 attempts. He had 275 yards throwing, and he had 3 touchdowns. And Tyler Boyd, his receiver, had 4 receptions for 105 yards, and he had a touchdown. So the Bengals get back on track. Joe Burrow starting to look like the Joe Burrow from previous season. And as has been said many times throughout the whole game last week, no 0-2 team has made the playoffs. No team that has started off 0-2 has made the playoffs. And of course, the Falcons started the season off 0-2, and the Bengals started the season off 0-2. And if anybody has a chance to do it, I think the Bengals will do it. it won't be the Falcons. So let's move on. The Eagles took on the Commas, where the Eagles won 24-8. Jalen Hurts had 22 completions for 35 attempts. He had 340 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts went off on the Comanches, man, and he was close to being my offensive player of the week, but he was not. The Saints took on the Panthers, where the Panthers won 22-14. Christian McCaffrey had 25 carries for 108 yards, and he was averaging 4.3 yards a carry. Jameis Winston had 2 interceptions, 1 sack, and 2 fumbles. I hate both these teams equally, and I'm so glad to see that Jameis Winston is struggling right now. He was struggling so bad that Dennis Allen had to come out and say that he's sticking with Jameis Winston. He's dealing with transverse fracture because people questioned was he was going to pull Jameis Winston because Jameis Winston has been getting banged up. And, of course, like I said, he had a terrible game. He had 2 interceptions, he was sacked, and he had 2 fumbles. Jameis Winston being accounted for 3 turnovers on his team. Looked like he's starting to go back to that 2019 Jameis Winston who threw 30 for 30. We love that Jameis Winston. So the Jaguars took on the Chargers, where the Jaguars beat the dog snot out of the Chargers 38-10. James Robinson had 17 carries for 100 yards. He was averaging 5.9 yards a carry and a touchdown. And Trevor Lawrence had 28 completions for 39 attempts. He had 262 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence is, of course, a second-year quarterback who everybody's been very high on, and is starting to see that he's coming out of his NFL shell. So the Rams took on the Cardinals, where the Rams won 20-12, where Aaron Donald got his 100th sack of his NFL career. The Packers took on the Buccaneers, where the Packers won 14-12. Aaron Rodgers had 27 completions for 35 attempts. He had 255 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a sack. He was sacked 1 time, and of course he had an interception. And yes, ding, 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 ding. This is why I named my NFL Defensive Player of the Week, and that goes to the Saints. That's right, more specifically Marshawn Lattimore, because as Rex Ryan so eloquently put it, that the Buccaneers lost this game once Mike Evans was suspended. So, of course, my NFL Defensive Player of the Week goes out to the Saints because of that fracas last week. He got Mike Evans suspended, and the Buccaneers lost. So it was just a good day overall this past Sunday. The Falcons won, the Saints lost, the Buccaneers lost. It was a good day. And of course on Saturday, Georgia won, Florida lost. So it's been a good day. We got to talk about the 49ers and the Broncos, where the Broncos won 11-10. Oh man, this was a boring game, I gotta say. The Broncos defense had 4 sacks and they caused 3 turnovers. Jimmy Garoppolo, like a dummy, he did a Dan Orlowski and stepped out of bounds and gave his team a safety, but it was the lesser of 2 evils because he also threw a pick 6 in that game. And if he didn't step out of bounds, he would have gave up a touchdown to the opposing team. So Jimmy Garoppolo stepping out of bounds and getting a safety was probably the best thing to happen to his team. Of course, he is the reason why his team lost, because those 2 points would have swayed the other way and whatever. So the Cowboys won on Monday Night Football. I don't care about the Cowboys, so I'm not going to talk about it. My name is Patrick Sills. Y'all like, subscribe, share, comment, let me know how your team did this week, because my team did great. I'm Patrick Sills. I see you when I see you, man. Peace.